Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of Bears Talk Today, free agency edition. And Mike, the Bears not only cooked, I think they had a feast.
I think they did too, and they spent a lot of money, which is good.
They did, yeah.
You know, I feel like we're in a spot right now where the Bears are acting as if they're a competent organization.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In like a 6-month span, they fired Matt Eberflus.
Yeah.
They got the biggest fish in the coaching cycle, and they spent a lot of money on quality players for free agency. This is unfamiliar territory for me as a Bears fan. Like I don't know how to feel right now.
Yeah.
I have thoughts, of course, but I think finally maybe the tides are turning. Dare I say the Bears are back? I
think so.
I think we can say that, but we have a lot of moves to recap today.
We do.
We have trades. We have a flurry of free agent signings. We're going to talk about how this affects the draft, what our thoughts are.
Yeah.
So let's start with a couple of the trades they made.
Yeah.
And I think that the theme of what the Bears have done so far this offseason is they really listened to us, Justin.
They did.
They went after the big boys, all right?
They did, yeah.
Offensive and defensive line. They started off by trading for guard Jonah Jackson. This was something that I wanted them to do. I talked about it in my rebuild. They traded for a 6th-round pick. Now he is making $17 million annually, for the next couple of seasons. But to solidify one of the guard spots for just a 6th-round pick when you have a bunch of cap space, I thought was a good move.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is definitely something that won't hurt us. I mean, I think Jonah Jackson is a player that could perform well on our team. And we have an awesome array of assistant coaches that will get him to where he needs to be.
Yeah, and of course, he spent time in Detroit with Ben Johnson. I'm sure that connection helped bring him to Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Another guard that we traded for Joe Thuney, one of the better guards of this generation.
Yeah.
He's a 4-time Super Bowl champ, former All-Pro. He is a little bit older. He's in his 30s, I understand. But getting him for just a 2026 4th-round pick, I think solidifies that other guard spot for the Bears.
No, I mean it does. I think for me, it's something that is well needed. He's a Pro Bowl player. He's able to get out there and kind of teach some of these other guys and some of the newer guys that we signed later on in our listing of what it means to play for a winning team and to actually block so our quarterback can throw the ball.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's blocked for Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, played under Bill Belichick and Andy Reid. This guy's done a lot of winning in his career.
He has.
And I think, again, not only is he a position of need for the Bears, but like you mentioned, he's a winner. He knows how to win. He's been in winning locker rooms. I think that veteran leadership is going to be helpful for the Bears.
Yeah.
So that was just the trades that the Bears had made. Now let's get into some of the free agent acquisitions. So, again, the Bears attacked the trenches early and often.
They did.
Ben Johnson, when he talked, and Ryan Poles, when he talked, when Ben Johnson was getting introduced as the coach of the Bears, they talked about bringing in trenches, and they weren't lying.
Yeah.
They committed a lot of resources. They started off free agency by doing something that we both wanted them to do, which was sign center Drew Dahlman to 3 years, $42 million, $28 million guaranteed. Now, he was the top center on the market by a country mile. He reportedly took less money than he could have gotten elsewhere to sign with the Bears.
Yeah.
They're paying him $14 million annually. What are your thoughts on the Drew Dahlman deal? What do you think this does for our offense? And what does it tell you, Justin, that our first 3 moves were left guard, right guard, and center?
That when Ben Johnson had his press conference earlier this year and he was talking about building in the trenches, he was serious.
Yeah.
I think this is an excellent move. I think for me, having somebody who we need guys on the offensive line that have experience. And this is what we came to do. And we had talked about this earlier in the season about the McCaskies allowing the head coach to spend money, to allow Ryan Poles to spend money. And we're spending money like it's crazy, but it's actually, players that are going to be worth the while of us while we're still in our up-and-coming phase. And these are going to be impactful plays. No, we're not going to sign the Cooper Kupp's and the Devontae Adams of the world. We don't need that. Right now, we need guys to protect, and we need guys to block.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point you just mentioned about Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams. We've got our skill guys.
We do.
Like, we're solid on skill guys. We got DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet.
Yes.
We're going to draft a running back at some point in the draft.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that. But this free agency was all about trenches. Trenches. And that is something that the Bears fans and really anybody with brain cells has been screaming to do for years now.
Yeah.
Their offensive line has been atrocious for so many years. It is so refreshing that, like you said, Ben Johnson comes in.
Yeah.
They immediately address that, and then McCaskey gives them the freedom to go out and sign the big checks.
Yeah.
Because, like we've talked about, he's been kind of cheap in recent years.
Yes.
And for him to go out and pay $13 million a year for Ben Johnson, to pay all these free agents, it's a breath of fresh air.
Very much so.
Speaking of trenches, now let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. They signed defensive tackle Grady Jarrett to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal, $28.5 million guaranteed. Now, a couple of things I want to say. When it comes to the money, people would say, oh, the Bears maybe overspent a little bit. They maybe, paid too high of a price. Number one, that's free agency. Yeah. Number two, it's not my money. Why do I care?
Right.
Number three, I don't think after what we saw last year, you could really pay a high enough price to get quality play in the trenches. So for, Jonah Jackson and Joe Tooney and Drew Dalman, it's a lot of money going into your 3 interior linemen.
Yeah.
But after what we saw last year, that might not even be enough, right? You could probably even afford to do more. So if we want to see Caleb thrive, that's what we have to do. But Grady Jarrett got released by the Falcons. I didn't actually know he got released until I saw the Bears sign him. So I was like,
yeah, it was a quick release.
Quick release. Bears pounced on it. They got Grady Jarrett. Yes, he is a little bit older. Yes, he's maybe not the player he once was, but he's still a very solid defensive tackle in this league. I think he's going to pair nice with Dexter in the interior of the Bears defensive line. What say you, Justin? 3 years, $43.5 million for Jarrett.
I think it's worth it. You just spoke about something that was very important, right? We need to spend money in order for us to actually start winning games and really for us to start having a success. And I think also this will be a kind of a motivational season for Jarrett, right? You get released from your former team. They gave up on you. Somebody else picks you up, and you're going to be. I don't think we're facing the Falcons this year, but if we did,
it's revenge season.
It's going to be a revenge season for Grady Jarrett, and I think definitely he'll be motivated, and I think this is a great pickup.
Last major pickup that the Bears made, they signed former Colts defensive end Dayo Odeyingbo. I really hope I said that.
Yeah, no, you got it.
That sounded right.
Yeah, you got it.
3 years, $48 million with $32 guaranteed. Now, this was the one move that I think sparked the most controversy, at least on Bears Twitter that I was seeing.
Yeah.
Some people see this deal as we're paying, not a premium necessarily for a 25-year-old up-and-coming pass rusher who hasn't played his best football yet, supposedly. Other people see it as, well, you're paying for a guy who's, all upside and no production, right? Didn't have a lot of sacks last year. His pressure rates weren't great. Didn't, play on a great Colts defense.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit torn on this deal, but I would probably lean on the side of it being okay because, again, they're spending resources on the defensive line. They released DeMarcus Walker. They basically signed him for a little bit more money, and he's significantly younger than DeMarcus Walker. We needed somebody opposite of Montez Sweat. Some people are saying, well, we should have, forked up a little bit more cash for Josh Sweat. We'd have the Sweat brothers on the opposite side. They're not actually brothers. I'm just kidding. On the opposite side, I think it's important to remember, though, he went to Arizona, which has Jonathan Gannon, who is the former Eagles defense coordinator. So maybe that was a relationship we couldn't have overcome. But what is your thoughts on the Dio's deal? What's your thoughts on that? I'll learn eventually.
It's a low risk signing. Right? He's young, right? He's not like he's in his 30s or even late 30s, right? He still has time to learn, grow, and develop. So I think definitely with our coaching system and just looking at Dennis Allen and seeing what he can do on the offensive coordinator line. And I know Ben will call most of the plays too, right? Yeah. So I think having those two pieces alongside to help him grow, I think that's a win in my book. I could see if we were paying for this is going to be insane to have this come out my mouth, but it's not like we're signing for an overpaid Aaron Rodgers. All right, we're not doing that, right?
You're washed, buddy.
Garbage.
Have fun in Cancun.
Or wherever you go.
Yeah.
But, and long story short, I think this was a low risk signing. I don't think this is something that's going to hurt the Bears. Worst case scenario, he underperforms, and we haven't wasted. We have enough pieces around him. Yeah. Our defense was great already. Just needed a couple of minor pieces. But, I do not think that this is a bad signing.
No, I genuinely understand both arguments, but I generally lean with you where I think it's a more positive than a negative.
Yeah.
I will say there wasn't really a dominant pass rusher on the Colts to help free up opportunities for him on the opposite side.
Yeah.
We have Montez Sweat, who's a very good pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Their best pass rusher last year was, I would argue, Latu, who was the first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
He's a rookie last year, though. You know what I'm saying? So there's still some growing pains there, but I generally like it. We also, on a minor scale, we signed tight end Durham Smythe to a deal. He's going to be primarily like a blocking tight end.
Mm-hmm.
He was with Ben Johnson when Ben Johnson was in Miami several years ago.
Yeah.
And then one more thing I want to note, it's something we talked about in our last episode, was Khalil Mack. A lot of people were very on the train of let's get Khalil Mack back in there, let's bring him back. And he signed for $18 million with the Chargers. I would not have been willing to do $18 million for Khalil Mack.
No.
I think 15 was pushing it.
Very much so.
Again, when we juxtapose that with we signed a much younger guy for 3 years for less AAV than to get Khalil Mack, an older veteran, on a 1-year, $18 million deal. To me, I like that alternative better than what the Chargers did for Khalil Mack. Obviously, they're in a different spot as a team, but I know the Bears released that hype video and they got everybody excited.
Yeah,
they put the Khalil Mack highlights in there and everybody was all up in arms, and it didn't happen. So what were your thoughts on, I guess, not bringing back Khalil Mack? Were they the same as what we had last week?
I was happy. I mean, I was texting him like, I hope we don't do it. I mean, we would, if we were to sign him for $18 million, I'm expecting like instant production day one.
10 plus sacks.
I'm thinking Khalil Mack from years prior, even when he was on the Bears the first time. So I think this is just like I said with Day Odabingo, I think that was I'm not going to say cheap, but I'm going to say a cost-efficient sign.
Yeah.
You know, worst case scenario, he underdevelops and we trade him or move him somewhere else, or he performs really great and we ended up having him longer than for just a 2-year rental for more money or less money.
Yeah. No, I like it. So now let's get into some grades. So what if you had to give a letter grade to the Bears offseason as a whole?
Yeah.
That's the trade for the guards. That's the free agency. We're not at the draft yet, so obviously the grade's incomplete. What grade would you give the Bears?
I will give it a B+.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think for me, looking at what we have done, even in what free agency was March 10th?
Yeah, it was a couple days ago.
Yeah, in the first 48 hours, we have already signed key, guards, defensive ends, so I think for me, this is something. Oh, and another thing, I know we didn't talk about it in segment 1, but Durham Smith.
Yeah,
that one.
You like Durham Smythe?
I like Smythe. Sorry, I like that one only because I feel like, and I love Cole Kmet, but for the love of God, he cannot block.
Yeah, he's not a great blocker. Yeah.
So I think this would be a great alternative. Like all of these signings that we've made in the first 48 hours have been all impactful. These are all positions that we need to cover and make sure that we're set so in that way Caleb Williams gets back in the pocket, he'll be able to have time to throw. Mm-hmm. Or our defense will have that extra piece that we might have missed previously during last season. So I give it a B+. I think all of the signings were great. I didn't have one that was kind of like, I don't know. I think if they definitely would have signed Khalil Mack, I would have been like, no, but
yeah.
I think this was B+ for me.
I'll go ahead and give it an A. I'll be even nicer than you. The Bears had a clear need. They addressed that need with several positions on both sides of the ball. I thought the plan was executed perfectly. I don't think that there's any egregious contracts. Mm-hmm. Again, you can complain about Dio. I don't see that as a huge negative. It's $16 million AAV. Yeah. The cap's about to be $280 million in a couple of years, so that's not really a big deal for me. Mm-hmm. I don't see any of these deals as disastrous because that's the trap that some teams find themselves in, is they outbid themselves almost and they pay an enormous amount of money for a player that's mid. Yeah. Right? Again, I don't think any of these players are necessarily bad. They're not the best in the NFL, but they're not getting paid like the best of the best. So I think free agency was done well there. Again, clear plan of attack, address the needs, put yourself in a good position for the draft. Yeah. I'll give it an A. And then I wanted to ask you, before we kind of moved on, a couple more questions regarding free agency. Do you think the Bears missed out on any free agents? Was there any free agent that signed somewhere else that you were like, man, I really wish the Bears would have got him, or et cetera like that?
I don't feel like we have.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people can say, maybe, there could have been like a wide receiver 3 we could have signed, because I don't think Keenan Allen's going to come back. I think he's gone. So I think maybe if I just forcefully had to choose one, maybe picking up a decent veteran wide receiver, as our,
and they still can.
And they still can, right? We're only in day 2 of free agency, so there's still time.
Yeah.
But I mean, to make a outstanding set of moves in the first day, I was left. Like we said before, like he cooked. He made a Thanksgiving meal, and he served everybody. He served all Bears fans hope for this year. So I don't think there was any free agents that I saw that I was like, man, we should have signed him. What do you think?
There was one that I would have liked, especially at the price point they ended up signing for. Paulson Adebo, the corner of the Saints.
Okay.
Obviously had worked with Dennis Allen. He was his head coach. Now he's our defensive coordinator. I would have liked the Bears to look into him, especially because he got only $10 million average. I think he's a really good corner. I think the Giants got him for a great value, honestly. So I would have liked the Bears maybe to turn over that stone a little bit, but I can't necessarily nitpick because I understand that they have other talented corners. People are divided on Tyree Stevenson, understandably so, but Kyler Gordon's good, Jalen Johnson's good.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna throw a fit. But Paulson Adebo, again, in a perfect world, I might have liked the Bears to look into that. But I can't lie. We put in our script, King Poles is cooking.
Yeah.
He's chefing up. He is doing a great job. And everybody's going to joke and everybody's going to say, well, the Bears are back-to-back offseason champs. Hang the banner. You know what I'm saying? But I think, and, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But it's different this time, okay?
Yeah.
It's different.
No, and I want to speak on that, right? Because we've had, this is the second offseason where we've had that. Think about our head coach. I know we've talked about that in several different episodes this season, but that was the number one coach, out there this season. That was coming. His contract is up. That was the number one. We normally never signed our first option. It's normally like the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so forth.
We're like the awkward kid at the school prom.
You're not getting the pretty girl. You're getting the ugly girl. But but no, you get my reference. But in all seriousness, though, I think that was something that we needed. And I think that's what makes this offseason different. I think if we had signed some rando coach, assistant coach off of somewhere that didn't have a great season, the year prior and, just was not well respected in the league, I would be like, I don't know, but I have full faith in this season. And I think we're gonna see a lot of great things. So I think King Poles cooked. We both have said this before about, hey, King Poles. Ryan Poles has to make sure that
his seat was getting a little warm.
His seat was getting a little warm, and he saved himself here. So I'm excited to see where this all goes.
So one thing I'll say before we get into previewing kind of some draft stuff, I would argue that out of anybody in the National Football League, coach, player, GM, owner, the biggest winner of the NFL offseason has been Caleb Williams. Because the Bears went out, they got him a premier offensive coach.
Yeah.
They invested in the interior of the offensive line.
Yeah.
They have multiple high draft picks to go get some playmakers because I do think I would imagine they're going to draft a receiver, they're going to draft a running back, they're going to draft another offensive lineman. The investment that they have made into him as a player is clear.
It's big.
They have a plan. They understand that the situation he was put in last year is unacceptable from a coaching standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, from a schematic standpoint, whatever you want to say. They're making sure that all of that is better. Now, on the flip side of that, that means the pressure's on Caleb now.
Yeah.
Now there's no more excuses.
Yep.
Right?
You have a team around you.
Year 2, you have a competent coach. You have good weapons. You have a good offensive line on paper. You have a good defense. They have a good defensive coordinator.
Yep.
Right? There is no excuse. If you are bad this year, we need to have a conversation. And I don't think you will be.
No, I don't think you will be either. Yeah.
Last year you had a lot of excuses, and they were justified.
They were.
This year, you don't. So pressure's on Caleb a little bit. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into the draft briefly.
We're forgetting a big question.
We're forgetting a big question.
How does this affect LeBron's legacy?
How does this affect LeBron's
King
legacy?
James.
Let's ask Stephen A. Smith what he thinks.
Listen here, Mike. I believe that LeBron James is going to actually retire from the NBA and sign with the Chicago Bears as a running back.
He can play tight end. He could play tight end. He's 6'9". Put him in the red zone.
Yeah, there you go. What did
Bye-bye, Cole Kmet. All your red zone targets are zapped away.
Yeah, no, seriously. What did Shannon Sharp say? UGA, PGA, Lakers at 5.
Lakers at 5, yeah.
Okay, we can move on.
I put that in the script as when I was bored.
In the script. Yeah, that was
it was in the script. Let's go ahead and for our last segment here, preview the draft. We got a little bit more time in this episode. So the Bears currently have a plethora of picks.
Yeah.
They have 3 picks in the top 41, including picks 10, pick 39, and pick 41.
Mm-hmm.
What should the plan be for the 10th pick? Do you think that they go with a guy by the name of Ashton Jeanty, who everybody wants, and all Bears fans keep talking about?
Yep.
His odds, according to several bookies, have jumped from plus 320 to plus 150 for the Bears to draft him. You can make the argument that, hey, Bears went out in the offseason. They got their big boys. They got the line solidified. They're good to go. Now you draft the skill guy at 10. What better skill guy than the should-have-been Heisman Trophy-winning running back out of Boise State, who was tremendous last season? What are your thoughts, real quick? Have your thoughts changed on Jeanty? Because we've talked about it before. We said they need to address linemen. They went out. They went above and beyond in the offseason. Does that now change your mind on Jeanty at 10?
It does a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I think for me, earlier in the season, this is our first offseason with, or not first, second offseason with polls or third?
Oh, it's third. The third, yeah.
So, I've seen what has happened in years prior, right? So I was like, look, until I actually see us make some changes, this is what we need to focus on and nothing else. But this year, as we talked about it before, like this year feels a lot different. So with that, my mindset kind of changes. I think we got all of our guys we need.
Yeah.
And in free agency, that means we don't have to, I don't want to say waste years, but, they're able to learn faster. They're experienced. Some of these guys are Pro Bowlers. Like, this is something that a month and a half ago I'd have been like, no, we don't need to look at any running back. But I say, why not? Why not do it? I would say we either get Jeanty or we trade for a good player.
Trade down or trade up? Oh, you're thinking about trading up, aren't you?
Yeah, but I don't know if anybody's going to really want to take our 10th pick for. With the top teams in the draft, or like the first 10, the first picks, I don't know if anybody would want to switch with us. But maybe there is a veteran player, because I know on here you said could tight end be an option. I think, why don't we try to bait somebody? I'm not saying get rid of Cole Kmet, but I think definitely exploring the options of finding somebody who can block. I mean, Cole Kmet's production was terrible, and then we obviously signed Durham Smythe.
Are you alluding to a Tyler Warren or a Colton Loveland?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
okay.
That's right up my alley.
Okay.
I think that is, tight ends nowadays aren't as, I'm not going to say they're not as much of a productive unit, but, even in the Super Bowl, it was literally just Jalen Hurts and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Cooper DeJean, don't forget about him.
Yeah, Cooper DeJean. I mean,
it's my brother.
Wide receiver action.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that we need. And, I think if we can find an upgrade in that position, why not go for it?
I am not opposed to taking Tyler Warren at pick 10. I think, again, I'm not as high on Cole Kmet as a lot of people are. I think he's an average tight end.
He is.
He's an okay receiver. He's not a very good blocker.
No.
He's got to be the only guy from Notre Dame that can't block. I mean,
that's crazy.
They got
out of that school?
Yeah, they got some big boys up in Notre Dame.
Yeah,
but
they do.
I'm not a big Cole Kmet guy. And we saw when the Lions a couple of years ago took Sam Laporta. What did he do? Oh, yeah, he set the rookie receiving tight end record his first year. We saw, with the Raiders last year with Brock Bowers, how good he was, right? Tyler Warren isn't Brock Bowers. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is maybe there's another element to this offense that can be unlocked with a premier tight end.
Yeah.
Elite tight end, right? So I'm fine with Tyler Warren. In terms of Jeanty, the reason I'm opposed to taking Jeanty at pick 10, not because I don't like Jeanty. It's not because I don't think he's worthy of a top 10 pick, because I think we've seen when you have a running back is going to be, I guess, judged by their situation, right?
Yeah.
Good offensive lineman, good coach, you can take a running back high. Lions did that with Jahmyr Gibbs, right? I don't mind that, but what I think is there's so many good running backs in this draft.
There is.
You can get similar production later on in the draft. So take another premier player with your 10th pick, and then you could take maybe in the early second, a Marion Hampton. You could take a Junkins. You could take a Henderson. You could take a Caleb Johnson. Whoever you want, right?
Yeah.
This running back class is stacked. So that's why I wouldn't take Genty at 10. I do think, again, Tyler Warren's a great option. I also want to bring up maybe taking a tackle as Simmons or Banks or Campbell if he plays tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, he does.
I have seen people say, though, that the Bears do really like Braxton Jones.
Okay.
And obviously Darnell Wright, I think, was our best lineman last year. He'll come back this year. So maybe tackle's off the board for the Bears at 10. So, honestly, I think maybe our best option right now is to take Tyler Warren. I really do think that he's going to be an elite weapon for the Bears.
Okay.
Ben Johnson would know how to utilize him. And, he's a guy who can, I think, block. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. One of the mantras of Ben Johnson this offseason is no block, no rock. Right? You want the ball, got to get your hands dirty. So he's a guy that's going to be able to do that. Cole Kmet would then be a really, really solid backup tight end. Or we trade him, depending on kind of what the situation is. Yeah. But, yeah, I think that pretty much does it. Yeah. I did want to mention one more point, though, Justin, that I forgot to mention in segment 1 and 2. But it's a real point for the Bears. You notice how all of these deals are 3-year deals? Yeah. I wonder if that's because Caleb Williams has 3 years left on his rookie contract.
That's
smart.
And
they're trying to take advantage of what is the best deal in professional football, which is a stud quarterback on his rookie deal. Yeah. The best contract in football the last 3 years has been Brock Purdy. He's making like $1 million a year, and he's been a good quarterback for the 49ers. Yeah. When you get to that second contract, and God, by the time Caleb gets there, he might be making $65-70 million a year. That really puts a hindrance on your cap. Yeah. So right now they're investing in everything they can to get as far as they can with Caleb Williams on his rookie deal, help him to become the best player he can become, and then come 2027, 2028. Yeah. It's time to back up the Brinks truck for Caleb Williams.
Oh, for sure. So I like it.
That'll be fun for him. But again, we have a few years left of his rookie deal where he's not making a lot of money. Let's capitalize on that. Yeah. It feels like it's a new day in Chicago now.
It is.
It's a brand new day.
It's getting warmer outside.
Yeah, it's getting warmer. Sun's shining.
Yeah.
I can hear the cries of Packer fans in the distance.
Oh, yeah, that too.
It's great. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. But that pretty much does it for us, Justin, unless you had anything else to add.
No, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. As we get closer to the draft, we'll have more and more fun predictions. I know this guy might be going. So
I might be going to the draft. Stay tuned.
We'll get some content for that. And, yeah, until next time, guys.
Peace.